Good morning.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head.
I don't think there's anything wrong with taking ownership and collaborating with your medical team.
Story time. Today is story time. So I heard there was a question on IG about biomarker testing, and I never really do a lot of story times. I don't think I've ever done one at all because this part of the story is always really difficult for me to share. Most of you know. If you don't know, I am almost a decade long. I'm a 9-year stage for metastatic triple negative breast cancer survivor, and people ask me all the time while I'm out speaking, how did you know what to do and how did you participate in saving your own life? And there's a lot to the story, but right now I'm just going to talk about biomarker testing and how I'm a big fan of it. It's super important to me. Biomarker testing, it literally is a tool, right? And it's an analysis, a lab analysis that looks for specific molecules and proteins and genes. And with that report, you can do a whole lot. It can open doors and it can provide treatment opportunities that you would normally think are possible. And usually it's done by blood or tissue. And in 2017, it was something that was new, something that was foreign to me, the idea that I could use this information to save my life. And it was difficult. It wasn't like this test was given to me, meaning offered to me. I had to fight for it. It was, again, something new that I had never known about. And when, I think it was like in January of 2017, there was an indication that I might be, something might be going wrong with my health. And I had already been treated in 2015 for stage 1, and I was doing pretty well. But, you go in for your 3-month, appointment, and I went there, and suddenly I got this blood test back indicating that there was something wrong with one of my levels. And my doctor asked me to take a CT scan, and the results came back that there was several areas of activity. There was activity in my spine, lungs, pelvis, and ribs. I could feel the pain in my ribs, and I could feel the pain in my chest, but I didn't understand what was going on. And so then and there, I figured if this disease is coming back, metastatic triple negative breast cancer, if the disease is coming back, what would I do? How would I handle it? And so lo and behold, I started searching and looking for doctors, and I did some research, and I found a doctor. Her name was Dr. Linda Vedot. She worked at Weill Cornell at the time. Smart, very brilliant doctor. And she was one of the first people to actually listen to me when I asked her about triple negative breast cancer and subsets and the importance of making an informed decision. And I can remember her response to me was, okay, you haven't gotten a diagnosis yet. We don't have any reports indicating that it is true you are, metastatic. But if you want to make an informed decision, if your biopsy test comes back that, you have been diagnosed with stage 4, you want to make an informed decision, and how do you do that? And she introduced me to the thought of biomarker testing, being able to take that report and to use it to make an informed decision. And so I was like, okay, that makes sense. If I've been diagnosed metastatic, if I have a report that indicates I have several mutations or I have a higher tumor mutational burden, that's a biomarker test that indicates that immunotherapy might be right for you. Or you have a particular protein that's driving your cancer, and there are treatments out there that you hadn't thought about, then that's the information you use in order to move forward. And I can remember, okay, this seems like a simple process, but when I went back to my original oncologist, she said no to the test, right? So literally I was essentially dying. I had, she gave me the information. She provided me the results of my subsequent biopsy, and it indicated I had tumors in my spine and my pelvis and my ribs and in my lungs, and I was essentially dying. I literally, at the time in 2017, I had a 4% chance of survival, literally. So shout out to all those people who've been diagnosed with a deadly disease and who are in the fight of their lives and trying to manage that, right? You've been told that your life expectancy might be short. And so this is probably why I don't share this part of the story, because it's like, it's sort of hard to share it. But I'm doing this because I feel like people need to know exactly what I did in order to put myself in position to stay alive. And that's exactly what I did. When my original oncologist told me no, I was like, all right, cool. I'm just going to go ahead and move on to Dr. Vidad, who said yes, who said to me, I hear your voice and what you're trying to do makes sense. And anybody who's been diagnosed with advanced cancer, it should be standard of care to have a genomic test. We called it a genomic test at the time, but it's basically a biomarker test. And that's what I did. I left my original oncologist. I went out there on my own. Dr. Vidad was able to see it through. We got the test, the tumor mutational burden score, which was rather high. It was a 17 at the time. And in 2017, that was a pretty big score. When I say big scores, most breast cancers, when a person's tissue or blood is tested for tumor mutational burden score, it's usually a lower. And the advantage of that is it was definitive. It let me know that, yeah, if you're trying to go for a clinical trial, you should really think about using the information, and going for a clinical trial is immunotherapy only. So the trial that saved my life was immunotherapy only. It was not chemo and immunotherapy. It wasn't that duo that a lot of breast cancer patients get, advanced breast cancer patients get. No, that's not what happened to me. It was immunotherapy only. It was an IL-2 and a PD-1 inhibitor. And the IL-2 helped build my cancer cells. It helped, I wouldn't say build, it provided my it provided my fighter cells. That's what it did. The IL-2 provided my fighter cells with, I'm going to say, Timberland boots and bats. And it provided them the force it needed the strength it needed to recognize the cancer and kill it. And the PD-1 inhibitor I was on was not Keytruda, it was Opdivo. And I used that. My cells used that to clear the pathway. It literally, the IL-2 built up my army of fighter cells, and the PD-1 inhibitor cleared the path so the killer cells could roll right in, recognize the cancer, and kill it. And so that's exactly what happened. And that's why I think it's important for me to share my story about resilience, but more importantly, the information about biomarker testing, because if you want to make an informed decision, one of the first things you should really have a transparent conversation with your medical team is about how important biomarker testing is. It literally can provide you with, again, it's just a lab analysis, and it provides you with information, and you use that information to make an informed decision. I understand, about faith and about God. I understand about resiliency. I understand that too, but you have to have some science involved. And that science can be biomarker testing. The biomarker testing sometimes can open up doors and provide a window of opportunity that wouldn't normally be there. And that's exactly what happened to me. Literally, after getting biomarker testing, it helped the principal investigator, the doctor who saved my life, identify me as a candidate for the clinical trial. And last but not least, the trial that saved my life, again, even though I was diagnosed with stage 4 triple negative breast cancer, had nothing, the drugs weren't targeting breast cancer. Yeah, that's a fact. So if you want to learn more about biomarker testing, if you want to have a conversation about your pathology report or the report you got back from biomarker testing, you can book an appointment, a free patient navigation 1-to-1, it's free, at carengsclub.org. And that's my little biomarker story. Thanks. Bye.